Have you ever experienced the turmoil when someone who once meant the world to you suddenly becomes indifferent? The person you always pursued never reciprocated with the respect you truly deserve, as if you were merely a faint supporting character in their story. What if I told you that instead of trying to gain their attention or prove your worth, the most powerful response is to ignore them and let your silence speak for itself? Imagine for a moment how stunned they would be when they suddenly realize that you, the one they believed would never dare to leave, has quietly vanished from their life. Your abrupt silence will be like a wake-up call, forcing them to reconsider everything. At first, they may try to fill the void with their usual activities, but gradually the emptiness you left behind will flood their soul like a quiet tide. As one saying goes, in a world full of noise, silence is the most potent weapon. And that is the moment when everything begins to shift. In love, sometimes silence and disregard are not games to win someone's attention, but rather a journey to reflect on yourself, to recognize your true worth without having to prove it to anyone. When you choose silence, you are demonstrating an extraordinary strength, the strength to know when to let go. Do you know that most deceivers carry within themselves an unbelievable sense of self-satisfaction? Although they may speak of regret and sorrow, deep down they feel a certain satisfaction from being the center of attention, from being the one who is cared for more when someone is groveling before them. So help them wake up. Don't cry, don't beg, and don't post long, drawn-out status updates on Facebook. Simply disappear from their life, even though this might be really hard, and you might still spend hours secretly checking their Facebook. They will be surprised, even confused by your indifference, and they will no longer have the chance to pity you. In the end, ignoring them will not only help you feel lighter, but also allow you to walk away from the relationship with dignity. Today, let us explore why sometimes ignoring is the only effective solution. Note that we are not talking about playing games or hiding emotions. This is about being fully aware of your own worth and understanding that sometimes silence is the best way to help others recognize it too. Join me as we embark on a journey to discover the 5 steps, inspired by Stoic philosophy, to master the art of ignoring. These steps will help you understand that ignoring is not merely a strategy, but an act that demonstrates self-respect and a powerful capacity for resilience. Each step will reveal how your silence can change the dynamics in a way the other person never expected. But before we begin this journey, I want to present you with a small challenge. If you are ready to explore the hidden strength within yourself and let your silence speak for you, leave a comment below with the words "I am strong." This is not just a statement, but a declaration of strength and a promise to yourself that you will always put yourself first. It is time for them, and more importantly, for you to realize that you are not just leaving, you are moving forward with unshakable determination and strength. So are you ready, my Stoic warriors? Before we dive into the content of today's video, I want to take a moment to share a story about my best friend. Don't be surprised by the fact that I'm starting with a story, because everything we're about to explore today revolves around this tale. I want to tell you a true story, one that will vividly illustrate the points I wish to convey. Let's follow each step of the main character's journey closely, because I believe you will find similarities and valuable lessons for yourself. Stay focused, because what I'm about to share may very well be a turning point on your own journey. Emily was a gentle, intelligent woman who always carried a positive energy within her. She had a beautiful love story with David, a man who seemed perfect in everyone's eyes. David came into Emily's life like a dream. He was handsome, courteous, and always knew how to make Emily feel like the most special person in the world. Whenever she spoke of him, Emily's eyes would light up with happiness. They got married after more than a year of being in love, and everyone believed that Emily had found the true happiness of her life. But then everything started to change after the wedding. David no longer maintained the same level of attention he once did. He became indifferent, distant, and often absent with vague excuses. One day, Emily fell seriously ill and had to stay in the hospital for several weeks. Everyone thought David would be by her side to take care of her, but the reality was entirely different. He only visited once, sat for a short while with a distant look, and then left, using his busy work schedule as an excuse. Emily lay there in the hospital bed, with tears streaming down her face, her heart heavy with the feeling of being abandoned. The story didn't end there. One late evening, as she was gradually recovering, Emily received a call from a friend. This friend had accidentally seen David happily out with a young woman at a cafe, and they seemed very close. The feeling of confusion and pain gripped Emily's heart. She decided to find out more and discovered that David had been having an affair with the other woman throughout the time she was in the hospital. Devastated and desperate, Emily fell into depression and lost all faith in love and life. She could not believe that the man she loved and trusted could betray her so cruelly. In those long, sleepless nights, Emily struggled with the feeling of betrayal, thinking that she no longer held any value in David's eyes, and it seemed like everything had collapsed. However, one day, Emily realized that she could not let herself be consumed by this pain forever. She began to ask herself, why do I have to rely on him to feel worthy? Why do I let someone else define my life? That was when Emily decided not to let this pain swallow her any longer. She began a journey to rediscover herself. Emily started spending more time on herself. She joined yoga classes, explored books on life philosophy and meditation, and discovered new hobbies she had never tried before. She no longer kept track of David's life, no longer cared where he was or what he was doing. She kept her silence and maintained her distance, but it was not the silence of a weak person. It was the silence of someone who had found inner strength. Emily's indifference surprised David. He was used to Emily always caring, asking, and even scolding him whenever he disappeared. But now she no longer cared. She did not call, she did not text, she did not need him to explain anything. This left David feeling confused and insecure. He began trying to reach out to her, even offering belated apologies and promising to change. But Emily no longer cared. She knew she deserved more than that. When facing people with oversized egos, sometimes the only way to protect yourself is through silence and indifference. Trust me, when you do this, you will feel an inner strength and confidence rising within you. However, it is not just about ignoring. It is about the next steps that I am going to share with you, steps that have led to miraculous changes. Each step will reinforce why ignoring them is the optimal solution. Are you curious to know what those steps are? Do you want to explore how ignoring can bring unexpected positive changes to your life? If the answer is yes, don't hesitate to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join me on this exciting journey of discovery. Number 1. Rediscovering oneself. The journey of rediscovering oneself is always the first and most important step in uncovering inner strength, especially in challenging circumstances like Emily's case. Emily's story is a prime example of what happens when we give too much power to someone else in deciding our own happiness. For 2 years, Emily devoted all her time and energy to David, immersing herself in the euphoria of love, forgetting about her own presence. When love becomes a habit, the sole pillar of joy, its collapse makes one feel as if their entire life is crumbling. This is exactly what happened to Emily when she discovered David's betrayal. She fell into a state of hopelessness and despair. But if we look back, it's clear that before David came into her life, Emily had a full and happy life of her own. She had her job, friends, her own joys, and a heart full of vitality. So why did she feel like she had nothing left when David betrayed her? The deep-rooted reason lies in the fact that she had given David too much power over her emotions and happiness. Emily allowed this love to become the center of her world and let David become the sole source of her joy and comfort. When he betrayed her, Emily's world collapsed, not because she lost a man, but because she had let him hold the key to her happiness completely. According to Stoic philosophy, happiness is an inner state and should not and cannot be determined by external factors. We Stoics believe that we must find happiness within ourselves through self-awareness of our own worth and by living in accordance with our principles and values. When we give others the power to decide our happiness, we lose control over ourselves and become vulnerable to the unpredictable changes of life. Emily's journey of rediscovering herself did not just involve reclaiming forgotten joys, but also restoring her inner power, something she had handed over to David for far too long. When Emily decided to stop following David, to stop caring about his empty promises, she took the most important first step on the path to inner freedom. She devoted time to herself, engaged in activities she once loved but had forgotten, and from there she began to find herself again. Ignoring David was not a sign of weakness or avoidance but a strong affirmation of her own worth. Emily no longer allowed his actions to hurt her because she understood that happiness does not come from the outside, it comes from her ability to control and define it from within. This is a manifestation of self-mastery, a core value of Stoicism. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control what others do, we can control our own reactions to their actions. Emily chose silence and stopped caring about David. This not only surprised him but also left him confused and insecure. He was used to Emily's dependence on him, to her constant search for his attention and affection. But now, Emily no longer cared. She realized that her worth did not lie in being accepted by David or anyone else, but in the confidence and self-respect she found within herself. Emily's journey of rediscovery is a valuable lesson in inner freedom. When she found strength within herself, she no longer allowed anyone or anything to determine her value or happiness. It is a clear demonstration of Stoic philosophy. Always maintain self-mastery and do not let external factors dominate your mind and emotions. In finding herself, Emily found the key to a truly free and happy life. Number 2. Cutting off contact. The second step I want to mention in Emily's journey is cutting off contact. This was a crucial decision, demonstrating the immense inner strength she found within herself. After realizing that her dependence on David only brought her more pain and robbed her of peace, Emily chose the most powerful way to free herself by cutting off all contact with him. She no longer called, texted, or cared about where he was, what he was doing, or who he was with. It was a completely correct decision because Emily understood that only by stopping following David's life could she truly free him from her thoughts and find peace for herself. The philosophy of Stoicism can help us understand Emily's decision more deeply. According to the Stoics, we should not waste our precious energy and time on things beyond our control. What we can control is our reaction to what happens around us. In Emily's case, cutting off contact was how she applied this philosophy decisively. So, no longer allowing David to dominate her thoughts and emotions, she chose to maintain calm and control over her life. And Emily did not allow the pain of betrayal to continue haunting her, because she understood that anger or sorrow over David's actions were merely reactions from the mind, and she had the right to control those reactions. Furthermore, cutting off contact helped Emily focus more on herself and her healing process. Without messages, calls, or any form of contact with David, she freed a large part of her mind from distractions and unnecessary pain. This allowed her to return to her personal goals, rediscover the pleasures she had neglected before, and rebuild her life from within. According to Stoicism, to achieve peace, we must find happiness from within, without depending on things outside our control. Emily applied this lesson accurately. She did not try to change David or make him regret. She focused only on changing herself. Her silence was a sign of strength, not weakness. It showed that she realized her value did not come from receiving love or attention from David, but from her ability to control herself and decide how to live her life. This exemplifies the spirit of Stoicism. Live by the principles you set for yourself. Do not let others determine your worth, and do not let things beyond your control dictate your life. Number 3. Setting boundaries. The third strategy I want to discuss is setting boundaries, a crucial step that helped Emily protect her inner freedom and self-worth after experiencing deep emotional pain. Initially, when Emily discovered David's betrayal, she could not avoid the intense emotions of pain, tears, and sadness. She spent long nights in confusion and disappointment, feeling as though her world had collapsed. However, after some time, as she embarked on her journey to rediscover herself, she gradually realized that to become truly strong and move forward, she needed to set clear boundaries for herself. These boundaries were not merely about refusing to answer David's calls or not replying to his messages, but rather about clearly affirming what she would and would not accept in her life. When David attempted to reach out to Emily again, she resolutely did not pick up the phone or respond to his promises or attempts at reconciliation. This was not an act of avoidance, but a clear expression of inner strength and self-respect. She had firmly established her boundaries. She would not accept betrayal or return to someone who had caused her pain, no matter how hard he tried. Stoic philosophy encourages us to know what is within our control and to reject what lies beyond our grasp. For Emily, establishing these boundaries was her way of taking control of her life. She understood that she could not change David or his actions, but she could change how she responded to them. That setting boundaries is not about changing others, it is about protecting oneself and affirming the values one believes in. When Emily refused all of David's attempts to return, she sent a clear message, not only to him but also to herself. It was an affirmation of her worth that she deserved a relationship based on respect and loyalty, not deception and betrayal. She recognized that allowing someone who had betrayed her back into her life would only cause more harm to herself. She refused to accept what was not worthy of her, even if it meant enduring temporary loneliness or facing difficult emotions. By setting boundaries, Emily chose to live according to her values. She did not allow herself to be swayed by fleeting emotions or regretful apologies. She understood that inner freedom does not come from pleasing others or seeking their approval, but from living according to her principles and self-respect. This is an important lesson in Stoicism. We must always protect our boundaries, not allowing external factors to invade our inner peace. Number 4. Be brave. Be brave in facing the truth, for only by accepting it can we continue on our path with freedom and peace. Like Emily, who realized that not being able to forget David did not mean she had to keep enduring pain and deceit. Even though her heart was still attached, she made the courageous decision to cut off all contact with him. This was not an act of avoidance, but rather an act of bravery in confronting her own emotions, a bold step to protect herself from further harm. Emily understood that if she lacked the courage to accept the betrayal and the truth that love was no longer as it once was, she would remain trapped in her pain and unable to reclaim her confidence. This courage helped her rediscover the inner strength she once thought was lost. It not only made her more resilient, but also helped her to uncover her true worth, something she had forgotten in those days of chasing someone unworthy. We must learn to face unpleasant truths and accept what has happened as a part of our journey of growth. Only by courageously embracing the truth can we free ourselves from unnecessary constraints and find the peace and confidence to rebuild our lives the way we want. The truth can be painful at times, but it is the courage to accept it that makes us stronger and enables us to continue moving forward with a heart unburdened. Courage in Stoicism is not blind recklessness or impulsive action. It is the ability to confront the truth, no matter how harsh that truth may be. True courage comes from accepting things that cannot be changed and responding wisely to difficulties, rather than letting fear or negative emotions take control. As the Stoic philosophers pointed out, we cannot control circumstances or the actions of others, but we can fully control our reactions and attitudes. In life, courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward despite it. Stoics understand that much of what we fear comes from thoughts and imaginings in our minds. Courage is facing the truth, not avoiding it, not making excuses, and not allowing fear to block the path to inner peace. But it means looking directly at what causes us pain, acknowledging it as part of reality, and then choosing to act wisely from there. Number 5. Learning to live alone. After discovering David's betrayal, instead of seeking comfort from others or rushing into new relationships to fill the void, Emily chose to learn how to live alone. She decided that no one but herself could bring true happiness and peace. This was the first and most crucial step in her journey of self-mastery, where she learned to face solitude on her own and use it as an opportunity to grow. In Stoic philosophy, solitude is not something to fear. It is an opportunity to train the mind, explore the self, and achieve inner freedom. Emily understood that solitude was not an enemy but a companion that helped her learn to take responsibility for her own emotions and decisions. Rather than avoiding loneliness through temporary pleasures or unsustainable relationships, Emily chose to confront it, even embrace it as an essential part of life. First, Emily began by spending time understanding herself more deeply. She realized that, in the past, she had relied too heavily on the presence of others to feel valued. Now she devoted time alone to reflect, think about what was truly important to her, and focus on the core values she wanted to uphold and develop. This was a time for her to reassess her life, to not only identify past mistakes but also to learn from them and draw valuable lessons for herself. Second, Emily realized that she needed to focus on developing her skills and personal interests. She started learning new things, exploring hobbies she had never had time for before, and finding joy and excitement in her daily life. She enrolled in art and fitness classes and even started teaching herself a new language. These activities not only helped her find joy but also built her confidence and gave her a clearer sense of her capabilities. Emily no longer saw solitude as a burden, but as an opportunity to improve herself and become a better version of who she was. Emily's story is a powerful testament to the strength of self-awareness and autonomy in life. From deep pain and disappointment, she courageously rediscovered herself not by relying on the acceptance or affection of others, but by rebuilding her self-worth from within. Emily understood that true happiness doesn't come from what others provide, but from the ability to make her own decisions and shape her own life. Through this journey, she not only found peace but also discovered her inner strength, opening the door to a new life filled with freedom and pride. Looking at Emily's story, we realize that anyone can find themselves in similar situations feeling hurt, lost, and directionless in life. However, the valuable lesson Emily offers is that instead of waiting for others to fix or fill the void, we should turn inward. Learn to live independently. Focus on exploring and developing yourself. This not only helps us discover our true worth, but also creates a solid foundation to face any challenges in life. Emily's journey also reminds us of the value of silence and distance. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is not to fight or strive to be understood, but to step back, remain silent, and focus on yourself. That silence is not a sign of weakness, but an expression of self-respect, determination, and the resolve not to let external factors influence your mind and heart. Each of us has the right to choose how we live, and that choice shapes our lives. Emily chose the more difficult path, the path of self-awareness and independence. But it was this choice that helped her grow, become stronger and more confident than ever. She bravely stepped out of someone else's shadow to find her own light. Let Emily's story be a reminder that we always have the power to change, to rise from the rubble, and start a new journey where we define our own value and happiness. In every difficulty, remember that we can not only overcome it, but also turn it into an opportunity to discover ourselves and become a better version of who we are.